It is 5:30 today, February 25th, 2021. I will call the Texas Southmost College Board of Trustees meeting to order. Present are Dr. Zabaleta, Ms. Alejandro, Ms. Adela Garza. Who else do I see on the screen?
Me,
Ms. Saenz, anyone,
Alejandra Aldrete.
Ms.
Alejandra
Aldrete.
Aldrete and Mr. JJ De Leon. Did I leave anyone out? Okay, so I think we're all here. President Jesus Roberto Rodriguez is also present. I will go to item number 2, Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Zabaleta, will you lead us?
I would be honored. I pledge allegiance to
The flag
of
of
the
the United States
of
of
America,
America and
and
to the republic for which it
which
stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge
allegiance to the Texas, one state under God,
One and indivisible.
one and indivisible. Very good.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
Item number 3 on the agenda, public comments. Public comments? No public comments? Okay, we go to item number 4. Call on Dr. Rodriguez to give his report. Dr. Rodriguez.
Herrera, thank you. Board of Trustees, got a little bit lengthy report, but I would like to report the spring 2021 enrollments. Our preliminary total enrollment numbers for the spring 2021, our current total numbers represent 8,822 students. This is a 5.42% decrease over last year's spring enrollment of 9,328 students. Now, it's worth mentioning, with only a 5.42% overall decrease, the spring 2021 enrollment placed Texas Southmost College ahead of the nationwide, which was a 10.1%, or the 17.7% regional enrollment decreases among community colleges. As you remember, the Board of Trustees approved the Take 6 on Us initiative, which waived 6 hours of tuition and fees during the summer 2020 and a 20% tuition discount for this past fall and spring semester. These actions taken by the board resulted in a 35.24% enrollment increase when compared to our last counting year, which determines our state appropriations every biennium. But it's worth mentioning that TSC is well positioned as we move forward with state appropriations. I also like to thank everyone from our campus community, from our community partners for all their hard work and support during the health crisis, and in keeping our students and classes, how everyone just came together. And I don't get tired of saying it starts with a strong board, with a strong leadership that helps us do our job. So on behalf of all of us, thank you to everyone in coming together as a team and staying on track to meet our goals. The EMS program. I'll call on Dr. Kyle to give an update on the EMS program, as well as an update on the respiratory care science program. Dr. Kyle.
Thank you, sir. With your permission, I'd like to ask Dr. David Pierce to do the updates this evening.
Okay, I guess that was okay. Hello, thank you to the chair and members of the board and President Rodriguez. What we have done since our last meeting that we had, that we're increasing the passing rates. We've had 15 graduates from 2019, 2020 have been contacted. These have taken the exam once, but not all of them have taken their exam. We've tried to contact the other 2 who have not taken the exam. They have not been reachable by cell phone, by school, or personal email. So far, we've offered 14 3-hour review sessions set up by Zoom that were meeting with the students at the time that was convenient for them. And these happened between January 23rd and February 20th. And of course, one was canceled because of weather last week. The days of the week will vary, times of the week will vary depending on what's available for the students. All of the sessions that were done on Zoom were recorded so that students who attended can revisit those later on, and those also who were not able to attend could also revisit it. So our goal is to get our students to test early, and the goal for 2019 students is to test before May 1st because they have a 2-year window on that. And our 2020 graduates, we hope will test before May 1st also. Technically, they have another year, but we also know that the longer they wait, the harder it's going to be to be able to pass the exam. Thank you.
I'm sorry, did you want me to speak about the respiratory care program, sir?
Please do, ma'am.
Okay, so thank you, sir. Good evening, Chair Herrera, Board of Trustee members, President Rodriguez. I would like to provide you with an update on the respiratory care science program. This is a program that you're familiar with, and we have for the past 18 months been looking for a program director for this program. As you are aware, or may be aware, our last program director did resign. And so in the interim, one of our faculty members stepped up and fulfilled that role for 18 months. We've had several rounds of interviews for this position, and to date, despite our best efforts, we have been unable to fill the position for a number of reasons. So with that said, because we do not currently have a full-time program director in respiratory care, then the accrediting body has a category called administrative probation. And most likely, if we do not find someone soon, the accrediting body will put us on administrative probation for a time. So we just wanted to bring that update to you. We are still doing a search, and I believe, hopefully, with help, we'll get someone into the program that's vibrant, that loves our students, will take care of our students, and help them secure employment for that field.
And I'll be discussing some recommendations to the board during executive session on actions that we may be able to take. That's the update on the EMS and respiratory care science program. We also have some great news, and I'm not going to steal the thunder from Dr. Kyle on this because these are truly bragging rights for Texas Southmost College. It's really a lot of hard work, diligent work that took place with our partners and all the program coordinators. So I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Kyle, so you can share the good news with the trustees.
Thank you, sir. Once again, good evening, Chair Herrera, Board of Trustee members, President Rodriguez. As you may be aware, a couple of years ago, the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board decided that for all of our programs that we offer, that we would identify and transcript marketable skills. And we did that successfully with some of our partners. But every one of our programs now, our degree programs, has marketable skills transcribed for the program. I'm sorry, my computer just decided it would be low on its battery, although I think it's plugged in. Anyway, so we have continued that work. Our faculty have been working diligently on an extension project over the past year, and I'm happy to report that TSC has completed a revalidation of program competencies for our workforce programs. According to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board in their guidelines for instructional programs in workforce education, all of our workforce education programs must identify the necessary academic skills and the workforce knowledge, skills, and ability necessary so that a graduate can attain entry-level employment in a particular occupation. But as a best practice, our subject matter experts typically perform or revalidate those skills for a specific job every 3 to 5 years. And so this past year, our industry partners and our program graduates, with help from a special software that we use through TSTC called Skills Engine, our industry partners and program graduates actually validated the specific work activities, knowledge areas, and tools that are pertinent to the target occupation for every one of our workforce programs. Our program coordinators and our program directors then took that validated information and aligned the curriculum, specifically the student learning outcomes, with the skills that were identified by industry as being needed for the occupations. So a Herculean effort. It took us a little bit over a year, but we have revalidated those programs. And so we feel confident that the students were graduating, that the competencies that the student learning outcomes match what's requested and needed by the industry. So a special thanks to Dr. Murad Abu Salim for spearheading this project after Dr. White Goisweta went to Alvin. And also to Dr. Chris Alves, who's become our resident expert in the Skills Engine software and has been a big help to faculty. And then even Ms. Renata Lara created a step-by-step video for faculty to help them go through this process. And then last but not least, Ms. Diana Ventura was the one that coordinated the endless work sessions that we had and made sure we archived all the files. So we're very proud of the work that the faculty and our industry partners and our graduates and the work product that we got out of that particular process. So I'm very happy to report that we're in compliance.
Wonderful. Congratulations again.
Congratulations. That's quite an undertaking. I mean, I know just competencies alone, to align competencies, it's so kudos to everyone. Thank you, Dr. Kyle, and all your staff.
Congratulations to Dr. Kyle and Dr. Wusalim and anyone that took part in this titanic task. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Now I'd like to turn to our January 29th. I was joined by trustee Ms. Alejandra Aldrete in celebrating the graduation of the second industrial installation cohort of TSC at the iTech Center. All our graduates of our installation program were hired prior to graduation by our partner Brand Safeway, which continues to be an excellent partner with Texas Southmost College. All of our industrial installation program students within the first two cohorts have been hired by Brand Safeway for a total of 17. Now, 2 weeks later, on February 12th, I was joined by board chair, Mr. Ruben Herrera, and our past board chair, Ms. Adela Garza, to celebrate the 11th scaffolding graduation ceremony at the iTech Center. Like the industrial installation students, all our scaffolding students and graduates were hired prior to graduation by Brand Safeway. This was the 11th cohort of graduates since the scaffolding program launched in the summer of 2018. Since then, TSC Workforce Training has trained and graduated 105 scaffolding students, all hired by Brand Safeway. And again, all this cannot be possible without the support of the trustees in upgrading our workforce labs. I also want to say thank you for that, because we're all very appreciative that you give us the tools for us to work with. Would also like to report that as of Monday, February 22nd, all TSC staff reported back to campus and the college is back to regular operations following CDC guidelines as well. Faculty do continue to work remotely. I also like to inform the trustees that that all TSC employees will be compensated for the days of the college was closed last week due to the inclement weather. I'm also happy to report that the TSC hosted 2 successful vaccination clinics at the iTech Center in partnership with the City of Brownsville and the Brownsville Independent School District. The drive-through vaccination clinics were held on February the 5th and the 13th and provided 3,000 people with their first dose of Moderna vaccine. In addition to providing the iTech Center facility, TSC supported this great community endeavor by providing over 100 TSC employees and student volunteers in the second clinic to assist in everything from traffic control, intake, data entry, and inoculation. TSC volunteers were also given the opportunity to receive vaccine prior to the start of the event. The city was very happy and impressed with the efficiency and the organization of the vaccination clinic process at the iTech Center, and was well that our students and employees volunteered. So we've done a really good job, and I do want to thank all our trustees for their continued support. Ms. Herrera, Ms. Aldrete for joining the vaccination clinic, as well as the entire Board of Trustees for, again, your continued support. We cannot do it without it. And to the students and the employees that volunteer. And we're scheduled to do another one. We just got notification, another vaccine drive-through tomorrow, Friday. So we're working, and we'll continue working with our community partners to try to bring some relief to our community members. Our virtual welcome week. TSC kicked off the spring 2021 semester on January 18th, and over the first 2 weeks, TSC Office of Student Life hosted 30 virtual welcome week events for our students. The welcome week featured new programming geared towards students' retention. Student Life collaborated with over 10 different campus departments to inform students of a wide variety of services and resources available to help them succeed. I mean, that included the digital library, the learning labs, the tutoring, the career and employment, recreation center, counseling, division of instruction, financial aid. It was well received and well attended. Several initiatives were held in collaboration with the Welcome Week and were launched as early as January the 11th to ensure that the students were prepared for the first day. Again, these initiatives include the Scorpion Student Success Orientation, along with the live events to teach students Canvas navigation and Zoom etiquette. Continuing with our Scorpion Strong initiative, the Student Life launched TSC Spirit Day. Students were encouraged to share and post a picture wearing their favorite TSC gear, their swag. And for this event, Student Life reached 1,129 students. Now, the Counseling and Student Accessibility Resources Department also had a successful turnout during their live events that introduced staff and informed students about their services and resources that they offer. This event reached a total of 1,600 students. Overall, with all the activities, Welcome Week reached 15,000 of our students or people in general. And I want to thank the Office of Student Life for their continued hard work and dedication to students' retention, their academic success, as well as for their successful kickoff for the spring semester. It was really all hands-on, full court press to make our spring semester a success. Now, I would like to share with you this month's video highlights of the activities that have occurred since we last met. At this time, I would like to ask Frank to run the video, please.
Today is the first day of class, so we're assisting you with any questions that you may have regarding Canvas or just logging on.
So don't be shy. If you guys need help navigating your classes, just please feel free to reach out.
So the SGA is the representation for the student body. We're here to help the students stay involved, stay engaged.
It's easy to get counseling services here at TSC for any student enrolled in classes. So if you're a student, you're enrolled in classes, then you have free counseling services available to you.
And basically what we do is oversee the facility, making sure it's safe for all of you.
Earlier this morning, you stated about when should I start my career planning, and maybe as early as pre-K, right?
I think the sooner the better, because students start finding out what is it that their career, their outlook is.
We do have a shout out from Noe, who says hello to both of you, and thank you so much for, helping him out in his journey here at TSC.
My biggest advice I can give is to always make time to study.
Good luck, Scorpions, for spring 2021.
Stay on top of your classes, and we'll see you guys next time. So thanks for joining us.
Bye, Scorpions. Good luck.
very pleased to partner with the city of Brownsville, with Brownsville Independent School District. Texas Southmost College has a little bit more than 100 employees here today. This is our grain of salt in fighting this terrible pandemic.
We have 15 stations, 15 lanes, where people since early in the morning were in line and they registered yesterday. It's running very smoothly.
We have some people here, they're doing data entry. We have runners who are taking paperwork from outside to inside to the data entry. We also have traffic control, and we're just running around. Whatever the city of Brownsville needs, we're here.
We also have about 30 students from our health professions, some faculty that are out there actually giving out the vaccinations. As a community college, we're all about service to our community, and what better way to serve. So this is an amazing way to give back to our students, their families, and our community. You know, as soon as we get another round of vaccinations, we'll be out here again, and we're going to continue supporting this effort to help make our community healthier and safer.
You know, we're going to do this as long as we take to make sure that the citizens can get through this pandemic. We're showing the state that we are completing this very effectively and efficiently. So it opens us up to be able to get more people of all ages to become vaccinated, because the state does look at how well we're concluding these events.
I'm extremely proud to be part of TSC and to be able to be here, and that TSC is collaborating with the community with important events such as this one to help everyone around us.
Thank you so very much for being supportive of Texas Southmost College. This is your community college. Thank you.
Again, thank you for everyone that helped this event to be successful, from our facilities, our volunteers, our risk management. Everyone put forth an effort to make it successful, and I know the community is very appreciative of the efforts that we're putting forth to help with this vaccination. Again, I can't thank you enough for everyone's hard work and commitment as we got through this spring semester and off to a safe and healthy start. I would like to share with you, we're preparing a Charro Fest at-home virtual celebration of culture video that we're hoping to roll out tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. We'll be sending a link. It's coming out really, really nice. So you can tell I'm supporting Charro Days, even though it's virtual. I've been doing my gritos. And I think, again, we can thank our Board of Trustees for their continued support. Our commitment to our community is steadfast, it's firm, and we'll continue to move forward, corporate and strong. So this concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Rodriguez. Next item on the agenda is consideration possible action on the minutes of the following meetings. Regular meeting, January 21st, 2021. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of January 2021. Do I have a motion to approve? Ms. Delia is muted, but she moved. Ms. Sines, you're mute. Okay.
I move to accept the minutes.
Second it.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the academic committee. I'll call on Mr. De Leon to present.
Yes.
No.
Oh, no, unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. The academic committee met on Tuesday, February 9th, 2021. Present were Ms. Garza, President Rodriguez, myself, members of the TSC administration, the college legal counsel, and the committee discussed the following item. 6A, consideration and possible action to approve the memorandum of understanding between Texas Alamos College and the Industrial Scaffolding Committee to continue offering Industrial Scaffolding Committee certified training. I'll call on Dr. Kyle and Vice President of Instruction, Dr. Joseph Flashman, Associate Vice President of Workforce Training, to present this item. Dr. Kyle.
Thank you, sir. Once again, good evening, board members, President Rodriguez. Dr. Flashman, with your permission, Mr. De Leon, I'd like to ask Dr. Flashman to present this item.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, it's a pleasure. This is the third year that we will have this memorandum of understanding. As you heard earlier, we've graduated 105 individuals in this program. Having this memorandum of understanding ensures that our students will continue to have access to the Industrial Scaffolding Committee Basic Access Programming National Certification, which will ensure that our students are able to enter the workforce immediately upon graduation. There are no changes to this document compared to the previous year. I would expect that every year we will be bringing this up for renewal, and that's what we have in this situation.
Any discussion? Any more questions? No? Okay. I make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between Texas Alamos College and the Industrial Scaffolding Committee and authorize President Rodriguez to sign the memorandum.
There's a motion on the table by Mr. De Leon, a second by Ms. Alejandro. Any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fleischman.
Second item, consideration and possible action to approve a clinical affiliation agreement with Mid-Valley Nursing and Rehabilitation Facility in Mercedes, Texas, for a respiratory care science program. I'll call once again Dr. Kyle, President of Instruction, and Dr. David Pierce, Dean of Health Profession, to present the item. Dr. Kyle.
Thank you, sir. Once again, Board of Trustee members, President Rodriguez. What you have before you is a new clinical affiliation agreement for a new site for a specific program, our respiratory care science program. This is a 1-year agreement. It does automatically renew unless one party provides written notice to the other. This agreement has been reviewed and approved by TSC Legal Counsel, Mr. Ruben Pina.
Any discussions? No comments? I'll make a motion to approve the clinical affiliation agreement with Mid-Valley Nursing and Rehabilitation Facility in Mercedes, Texas, for the respiratory care science program, and authorize President Rodriguez to sign the agreement.
There's a motion on the table.
I second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Next item, consideration and possible action to amend clinical affiliation agreement with Valley Regional Medical Center in Brownsville to include the Certified Nursing Assistant Program. Dr. Kyle will present. President of Instruction, Dr. Flashman, Associate Vice President of Academic Success, to present the item. Go ahead, Dr. Kyle.
Thank you, sir. What you have before you is a simple amendment to our currently signed agreement with the Valley Regional Medical Center. And the sole purpose of the amendment is to add our one continuing education program and as a certified nursing assistant. So there is one major change to the document, and that is on page 1. It is the second whereas statement has been added. And then throughout the document, we now have added language to include non-credit programs. So where previously it had stated degree and certificate programs, it now states degree, certificate, and non-credit programs. So once again, the sole focus of the change in the amendment is for our CNA program. And this will give them an additional clinical site. And during COVID times, it's important, the more clinical sites we have, the better off our students, the chance of our students being able to get into a clinical site.
Any comments? I make a motion to approve the clinical affiliation agreement with Valley Regional Medical Center in Bronzeville for the associate degree in nursing, diagnostic medical sonograph, emergency medical science, licensed vocational nursing, medical laboratory technology, radiology technology, respiratory care science, and certified nursing assistant program, and authorize President Rodriguez to sign this agreement.
There's a motion on the table.
I second.
There's a motion by Mr. De Leon, second by Dr. Zavaleta. All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carries.
This concludes my report. I would like to thank Dr. Kyle and her staff for all these opportunities for students here in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De Leon. Thank you, Dr. Kyle. Next item is the Finance Committee, number 7. Ms. Garza,
I think we lost her.
do you want to proceed, Ms. Alejandro?
Yes, I can. The Budget Committee met on Thursday, February 11th, 2021. President Rodriguez, myself, Mrs. Garza, and myself, members of the TSC administration and College Legal Counsel. The committee discussed the following items. 7A, consideration and possible action to adopt a resolution authorizing signature cards to be filed with TSC's banking institutions. I'll call on Dr. Figueroa, Vice President for Finance and Administration, to present this item.
Thank you, Ms. Alejandro. Chairman Herrera, members of the board, President Rodriguez. Before you have the resolution for banking institution signature card. We, as you might recall, back in, we changed in November the leadership of the board, and we updated our signature card submitting the minutes of that board meeting. But the banking institutions are requesting an official resolution naming the current bank signers for each of the banks. Mr. Peña, our legal counsel, has reviewed the document, and it's very similar to the current one, the previous one we had in place.
So I move or recommend that we adopt this resolution for signature card authorization.
There's a motion on the table.
Second.
There's a second by Mr. De Leon. All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor?
I have no idea what happened. I was let out. What was voting on?
The signature card authorization.
Okay. Will you repeat the motion, Mr. Herrera, please?
To adopt the resolution for signature card authorization.
Okay.
There's a motion by Ms. Alejandro, a second by Ms.
JJ.
Mr. De Leon. Any discussion? Ms. Garza, you still there?
Yes.
Okay. No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Ms. Garza, you want to take it from here, or you want me to continue?
Go ahead. No, you go.
Thank you. 7B, monthly financial statement report for the month ending December 30th, 2020. Although the agenda reads it through December 30th, the financials to be presented are through December 31st, 2020. Again, Dr. Figueroa will take care of this item.
Thank you, Ms. Alejandro. Chairman Herrera, members of the board, with your permission, I'll have our controller, Mr. Carlos Pesero, do a presentation of the financial statements.
Thank you, Dr. Figueroa. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, President Rodriguez, good afternoon to all. With your permission, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Is everyone able to see my screen?
I
Yes.
can. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. You have before you the monthly financial statements for the month of December 2020. The report is in a format that you're familiar with. There's 3 funds that the college adopts a budget for. So the first fund that I'll begin with is our educational and general fund, which is here on page 1. I'll mainly concentrate my presentation on the December column that we see here in the middle. We'll begin with revenue in the education and general fund. At the bottom of the page, we have a subtotal for general fund revenue, which is $5,464,422. That is the revenue that came in December for general fund. When we move on to the next page, we begin the expenses category for general fund. And we have a subtotal towards the middle of the page for salaries and wages. In December for general fund, that was $1,665,238. Very middle of the page, we have a subtotal for benefits, which is $431,057. And at the bottom of the page, we have the M&O category, which continues through the following page. And as you can see, as we normally present, all of our categories are delineated by object code, so we can see the respective descriptions for those amounts. So it continues through this page, and it concludes on that following page. This is the subtotal for M&O expenses for the general fund, $499,405 for the month of December. On the following page, we have a subtotal for the general institution category, and that is $140,624. The report for general fund has a subtotal for total expenses that can be found at the bottom of the page here, $2,727,423. And when we move on to the following page, we begin the second of the 3 funds that we adopt a budget for. So that second fund is the auxiliary fund. And in the same manner, we have revenues being presented first. We have a subtotal towards the middle of the page of $376,524 for the month of December. Immediately following, we have the expenditure categories. So we have a subtotal towards the bottom of the page for salaries and wages in the auxiliary fund, $68,037. And at the very bottom of the page, another subtotal for benefits of $21,779. We go on to the next page, we have the M&O category for the auxiliary fund, and we have a subtotal at the bottom of the page of $10,454. And to conclude the auxiliary fund, towards the middle of the picture, we have a subtotal for all expenditures in the auxiliary fund, which is $100,271. Now, the third and final fund that I'll touch base on is our general obligation and revenue bonds. At the middle of the page, we have a subtotal for the revenue that came in for this fund, $464,372. As you can see towards the bottom of the page, there are no expenditures in the month of December. So that concludes the section for the general obligation and revenue bond funds. So those are the 3 funds that we adopt a budget for. The remainder of the report consists of other categories. The first being the fund balance report that we provide. And so we can see here at the bottom of this page that our current fund balance is at $34,086,248. The following section has the detail for our health insurance. We have a section for general fund and for auxiliary fund. Those respective subtotals are $767,382 and $49,576, which can be seen there at the bottom of the page. So again, that's detail for the health insurance. The final section of this presentation includes the debt service requirements that we categorize for the next 4 years, plus a catch-all for the remaining balances. We have principal and interest columns as well as a total column. And we have one of these tables for each of the bond issuances that are outstanding. As you can see, they go through there and they conclude on this page here. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation for the monthly financial statements. If there's any questions, I'd like to take the opportunity to try and answer those, sir.
This is a non-action item. Any comments, questions? Ms. Garza,
Yes, sir.
you have the floor.
Where are we? Ms.
Item
Alejandra?
7C.
Update on grants awarded to Texas Southmost College for the month of January 2021. And I'll call on Dr. Gisela Figueroa, Vice President of Finance and Administration, and Dr. Angelica Fuentes, Associate Vice President of Instruction for Academic Success, to present the item.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, President Rodriguez, with your permission, I'll have Dr. Angelica Fuentes do the presentation for the grant item.
Good evening, TSC board members, Dr. Rodriguez and Chair Herrera. I'm here to present a report on grants awarded to TSC for the month of January. If you allow me, I will share my screen. I have 2 items to report. Am I sharing my screen?
Yes.
ma'am.
Very good. The 2 items are the second round for our 2 CARES Act, which are additional funds made to the first round. And the first one's for a little over $1.8 million. And the second one is almost $7 million. And I have if you have any questions specific on to what we're purchasing, the vice presidents can speak to that. And those are my only 2 items.
This is a,
Would you like me to do the presentation, Chairman Herrera
this is Ms. Garza's floor.
or Ms. Garza?
Yes, please.
With your permission, I'm be sharing my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
This Federal CARES Act, as Dr. Fuentes was just mentioning, we got a additional funding to it. The first, if you might remember, the first award or the initial award that we received was for $3.6 million, of which there was a student portion for 1.8 and the institutional portion for 1.8. Basically, the award was in half in funds were awarded to students. From that initial award, every student that was eligible to receive these funds received a check for $400. And in the institutional portion was used to help the college subsidize the cost of some of the additional softwares and upgrades that were needed to the facilities in order to facilitate the remote instruction. This second round, as Ms. and Dr. Fuentes explained, it's for $8.7 million. This is in addition to the 3.6 that we originally received almost a year ago. And this was added to that award. From that, again, $1.8 million. It's targeted for students, and $6.9 million is the institutional portion. Of that, we have funds to give awards to students and remain for eligible students that qualify for federal aid. Will be given an award of $550 per student in the next few days to disburse that amount. we might increase that amount. If from the first round, we also had that although some students were eligible, if they did not redeem their check, cashed it, we have to take it back, and we're gonna reissue that funds to the students on this time around. So the award might be a little more than the 550, but from the current award, it will be the second round will be $550. On the institutional portion, we also requested some projects that submitted for approval from the federal government, and some of them have already been approved, including an integrated library system, a simulation lab for health professions, some additional equipment for health professions, network infrastructures, laptops that will be used for faculty and staff, IT equipment, touchless bathroom and sinks fixtures, and intelligent building automation control, and the assistance of a person, a business analyst that can help with student services to automate some of their reports. We also have some other additional projects that are still pending approval that include the legal and criminal justice program expansion, some STEM program equipment, and replacement of HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning equipment. And this concludes my report. Are there any questions for me?
No questions. This was an information only. No action is required. And we'll go to 7D. Consideration and possible action. Yes.
You're on mute.
No, we can hear her.
No,
No, she not.
Mr. De Leon is
I'm
trying
sorry,
to-
I have a quick question. Dr. Figueroa, is there a time limit for the institution to finish these funds?
Since this second award was added to the original, as Ms. Dr. Fuentes mentioned on her report, the deadline will be May 6th for the institutional portion and the end of April for the student portion.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? So I can go to the next item? No?
No.
Okay, consideration and possible action on award RFP 2102 for campus heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, HVAC, maintenance and repair services. And I'll call on Dr. to present that.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Chairman Herrera, members of the board, President Rodriguez, with your permission, I'll have Mr. Ariel de la Fuente, our Executive Director of Facilities and Physical Plan, and do the presentation of this RFP item.
Thank you, Dr. Figueroa. My pleasure. Chairman Herrera, members of the board, Dr. Rodriguez, good evening. With your permission, I will start sharing my screen with the presentation. Are you able to see it in presentation mode?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Good evening again. Like Dr. Figueroa mentioned, I'm going to be presenting RFP 2102, which is the campus heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, or HVAC maintenance and repair services proposal. On this first slide, you're going to be able to see the timeline for this particular RFP. As you may see, from November 18th through December the 10th, the purchasing department published in our website, Facebook page, and send a series of emails, and in the local newspaper, the advertisement for this particular RFP. On December the 1st, we had the pre-proposal conference. On December the 10th, we had the deadline for submission for the vendors. On January the 22nd, the committee gathered and evaluated the proposals. A couple of weeks ago, on February the 11th, we presented it to the Budget and Finance Committee, and today we're presenting it to the Board of Trustees. The scope of—
May I interrupt, Mr. La Fuente? We can
yes.
only see part of the screen or the presentation.
Okay.
And, I mean, we're okay because we have it, but for public purposes, I think the whole
Okay.
screen is.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think you need to make it a little smaller.
Okay.
It might depend on the device that it's being seen on my computer. I do see the full screen.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah, I think I minimized the
Okay,
side.
no problem.
Okay.
It might be mine. Thank you.
You're very welcome, ma'am.
It's mine too. I can see, I mean, it's a huge screen, but I cannot see the actual full page.
I think it's our screens, Mr. Herrera. That,
okay.
So we probably have it amplified.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'll proceed.
No, go ahead.
Okay, very good. I'll proceed. The scope of work, and thanks for clarifying that, is to perform general preventative maintenance and repair services for campus general heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, HVAC. And basically, the vendors to be chosen, if approved by the board, would service the chillers that range from 20 to 200 ton, the boilers, the motors, the valves and actuators, the chilled water loop, and other miscellaneous repairs that might arise in the campus. Also, we expect the vendor to be on call, always for emergencies, 24/7 availability. The RFP review committee consisted of myself. It also consisted of Mr. Pesero, the TSC controller, Mr. Mascorro, which is the HVAC supervisor, Mr. Espino, which is one of our building maintenance supervisors. He's in charge of ITEC, and Mr. Cano, who is a coordinator of the recreational center. Before you can see the pricing tabulation. We only had 2 respondents for this particular RFP, even though initially we did have like 6 that visited the campus and walked it with the HVAC supervisor. One of the respondents is from Brownsville. The other one is from Corpus Christi. That's where their main branch is, but they do have a branch here in the Valley in La Feria. The evaluation criteria that we use is the one that we typically use, which is pricing, qualifications, ability to provide goods and services, the past performance for the last 10 years, ability to comply with the project schedule, the warranty support and policies, if they're a hub certified in Texas, if their place of business is mainly in Texas, as well as their number of employees, and the other relevant factors, which in this case we considered special tools and equipment that are required for these services. And last but not least, the ability to provide a timely professional service. The budget and financial impact, any expenses will be coming from the already approved fiscal year 2021 facilities department budget. And the proposal is to award RFP 2102 for campus heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, or HVAC maintenance and repairs to Gulf Mechanical Solutions LLC and Protect Mechanical Inc. for the period of March 1st, 2021 through August 31st, 2022, with the option to renew for 3 additional one-year terms, and authorize President Rodriguez to execute the purchase order contract as presented. Any questions? Yes, yes.
What we talked about was because they're recommending both companies, and one was much higher than the other one. And what we talked at the committee was, could we go to the second vendor instead of just using it for emergencies because we needed a backup? Could we go back and negotiate a better price? And Mr. De La Fuente, you were supposed to go back and do that. Are you going to do this fast?
Yes, I have yet to do it, ma'am. We wanted to present it to the board as is, but yes, that's the plan.
Because we realize we need to have a backup because at the 12th, we can't find anybody, then we need to have somebody else. So that's what we talked about at the committee meeting. I am going to recommend that to award RFP 2102 for campus heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, HVAC maintenance and repair services to Gulf Mechanical Solutions LLC and Pro Tech Mechanical for the period of March the 1st, 2021 to August 31st, 2022, with the option to renew for 3 additional one-year terms, and authorize President Rodriguez to execute the purchase order contracts as presented. That's my motion.
I have questions, several
Yes.
questions, many questions.
Mr. Herrera, but you need a motion and a second, and then we have to.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Now the questions. First of all, Ariel, would you come back to the pricing
Oh, sorry. Yes.
and tell me what is it that Gulf Mechanical Solutions cannot perform that ProTech Mechanical Solutions can perform?
They can perform basically the same tasks, Chairman Herrera. The only, well, I don't want to say predicament, but limitation that they have is that Gulf Mechanical is a smaller company. And in some instances, they have other customers, such as the city of Brownsville, the port, or other school districts, and they might not be available for us in an emergency. And that will be when we would use the second vendor.
So you only go,
Basically,
yes.
the vendor on record will be Gulf Mechanical, and that's who we will go for regular maintenance, scheduled maintenance. On times when there is an emergency, such as something that we had like last week, we will first call Gulf Mechanical still, but if they're not able to come within the required time due to the emergency, that will be the only situation in which we will go to the second vendor.
No question.
Yes, ma'am.
Wouldn't it be better if we reworded this to state that in case the first company could not cover, then we would go to the second? Because as I read it here, I see that we go to both, and that's not the case.
But that's not what was presented to the committee. What was presented to the committee was that it would just be as an emergency. And if we word it just as an emergency, then we could not go back and use it. What my suggestion was, Ms. Alejandro, was that they go back to the most expensive vendor and say, can you lower your price? And that way, if there is we could go to the second vendor as well.
Oh, but that hasn't happened, Ms. Garza. Mr.
Ariel
de la Fuente has not done what you asked him to do.
Yeah, but we needed to come to the board before to approve, and then he can go back and talk to the vendor.
But then how do we know if the price changes?
They don't comply, then we don't have to use them except for very, very serious emergencies.
At that price?
At that price, yeah. Because our first vendor would be Gulf, and we would go to them first. But I understand and I agree with Mr. De La Fuente, we need to have a backup and not run to the board and say, well, Gulf cannot perform. Can we?
Yeah. In the case of an emergency, we definitely need a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Any other discussion?
So how soon would they come back to us and see if they accepted to lower their price for that corporate company, or do we just never bring it up again?
Well, I think it's in Mr. De Las Fuentes' court that if they don't bring down their price, we won't use them as much, only for severe emergencies.
Okay. So what I understand, and help me clear this up, we will only use ProTech on an emergency basis, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So this is not what the recommended motion says. So do we want to amend the motion to read that? Because Mr. De La Fuente can pick and choose whatever he wants based on what we're going to approve today.
No, he can't. No.
Yes, he can.
Okay, Mr. Herrera. When it comes to committee and we dissect this like you used to do it in the finance committee, Mr. Herrera, I think we go through this and I think we get to dissect their plan. But you know, you're the chair.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. There's a motion on the table. There's a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed?
Opposed.
I have Dr. Zabaleta opposed.
I'm opposed.
Okay, we'll note it. Motion carries. Next item.
Seven E, consideration and possible action on approval of matching grant support for Greater Texas Foundation Emergency Aid and technical assistance for community college grants. And I'll call on Dr. Joanna Kyle, Vice President of Instruction, and Dr. Angelica Fuentes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Chair Herrera, Board of Trustee members, President Rodriguez. Ma'am, with your permission, I'd like to ask Dr. Fuentes to present this item.
Good evening again. We have been asked to submit a grant with the Greater Texas Foundation Emergency Aid. This grant is twofold. It's $122,500. Part of the grant is to be used for emergency aid, and the other part is to help us build a sustainable system to assist with emergency aid. We've been getting a lot of aid from the government, and now we want to be able to, past COVID, sustain these benefits and this aid that we're giving students. Now, the reason I'm coming to you for this grant, for this one in particular, there is a matching. The matching, this is a 3-year grant. Year 2, which would be fiscal year 2023, the matching is $5,000. And in year 3, which is fiscal year 2024, the matching would be $10,000. And again, this is why I am coming to you, because there is a financial matching to it, institutional matching.
This is a Ms. Garza?
Okay. The recommendation is to approve the allocation of the matching grant support in the amount of $5,000 in year 2, 2023, and $10,000 in year 3, 2024, contingent on the notice of a grant award from the Greater Texas Foundation. And that is the motion.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I second.
There's a motion by Ms. Garza, second by Ms. Science. All those in, any discussion?
I just like to say that I think that this is really a good a grant that we are involved with, because for $122,000, all we need to pay up is $15,000, and we'll get so much more money with those $15,000 that we put up front.
That is correct.
All those in favor?
Motion a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Garza.
This
Next item
concludes
is-
my report. Thank you, Mr. Herrera.
Item is Facilities Committee. I'll call on Ms. Science to give the report.
The Facilities Committee met on Wednesday, February 10th, 2021. Present were Chair Herrera, President Rodriguez, myself, members of the TSC administration, and college legal counsel. The committee discussed the following items. 8A, facilities projects update. Can Dr. Gisela Figueroa and Mr. Ariel de la Fuente please present these items?
Thank you, Ms. Science. Chairman Herrera, members of the board, President Rodriguez, with your permission, I'll have Mr. Ariel de la Fuente do the presentation update for this item.
Thank you, Dr. Figueroa. Again, good evening, Chairman Herrera, members of the board, President Rodriguez. With your permission, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Are you able to see it properly?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, for this facilities committee update, we only have one agenda item, and like Ms. Hines mentioned a while ago, it pertained to the campus parking lot improvement project. This is just an informational agenda item, and no action is required. On this first slide, you're able to see the current conditions in which some of our parking lots are. All of us as users have had the opportunity of using them, right? Obviously, and some of them need work. The project timeline is as followed. On September the 24th of last year, the TSC Board of Trustees awarded RFQ contract to Ambiotech Civil Engineering Group for an architect/engineer services. During October and November of last year as well, that particular company, Ambiotech from Brownsville, did the project assessment. And last December, they provided an estimated surveying cost and a recommendation. A couple of weeks ago, on February the 10th, we presented it to the Facilities Committee, and today we're presenting to the TSC Board of Trustees. The services that the architect engineer is to conduct the field surveys, to collect information required for the design, establish necessary and appropriate levels of control needed during the design phase. They shall coordinate with the utility providers and review and analyze data. This is the scope of work. So if we go to the left-hand side image first, the scope of work is all of those parking lots that are highlighted in red. So as you may see, it's going to affect the parking lots pertaining to Tandy, to Leitner, to the music building, to Old Education, to Newman, and then we jump to the thermal plant, to North, Guerra Childcare, MO, M1, and Set B. On your right-hand side, you can see that it's also going to affect, if you go to the bottom part of it, it's going to affect the Gorgas Tower. It's going to be positively affected by the resurfacing, the old morgue, and the commissary. Also, we are planning on doing the front and sides of the iTech Center. And the next steps for this particular project is the funding for this project is budgeted in the fiscal year 2021 under the restricted parking lot reserve account. The architect will commence the design and construction documents accordingly. And once that's provided, we will generate an RFP for general contractors, tentatively released March, April of the present year. Any questions or comments?
Thank God for the parking resurfacing.
Okay. This item was for information purposes only. No action is required. The next item is item 8B, iTech Dillard's Roof Renovation Engineering Recommendations. I call on Dr. Gisela Figueroa and on Mr. Ariel de la Fuente to present this item.
Do we have this item on the agenda?
Excuse me?
It's 8B.
Yes.
8B.
Thank you, Ms. Science.
Yes.
Chairman Herrera, members of the board, President Rodriguez, Mr. De La Fuente will be doing the presentation for this recommendation for the dealers of iTech roof update.
Thank you, Dr. Figueroa. My pleasure. Chairman Herrera, members of the board, President Rodriguez, with your permission, I will start continue to share my screen. Okay. It's not putting it on presentation mode.
It is.
Oh, it is?
No.
Yes, it is.
You might need to stop sharing and then put it in, do it again
Okay.
for the
Thank you.
presentation mode.
Okay, my apologies. Okay, yeah, now, okay.
Yeah.
So ITEC roof renovation project update. These are the current conditions that the ITEC roof pertaining to the old Dillard's store are in as we speak. As you can see on the left-hand side, there's a very, very large gap in one of the areas of the roof. On the right-hand side, you can see that we have other gaps, other holes that have been covered, but not in a professional manner. The picture to your left is for the second floor. Because water has seeped in, we have mold and mildew throughout the building. The picture to your right is the first floor. So as you can see, water has also been seeping through the concrete and getting to that particular area. The project timeline is as followed. In September the 22nd, the TSC Board of Trustees awarded RFP contract to Gomez Mendez and Science for architect engineering services. Through November and December of last year, this particular firm did a project assessment, and on December of last year, they provided an estimated construction cost. A couple weeks ago, I'm sorry, on February the 10th, we presented it to the Facilities Committee, and today we're presenting to the Board of Trustees. The findings of GMS, Gomez Mendez and Fines, were as followed. The roof membrane has failed. The metal deck is corroded and has failed. There's very large openings throughout the roof. This has caused flooding in both the first and the second floor. The bar joists are also damaged, and the extent of that particular damage is unknown and will not be known until the existing roof is removed. The insulation has asbestos, and we have an old chiller unit on top of this particular roof that would need to be removed with a crane. Also, because of the water that has seeped into the building, there's mold and mildew throughout the two floors, and this has to be abated. And also, once the project commences, the floors, the walls, ceilings, all the electrical and HVAC will need to be removed. The scope of work is to abate the asbestos, to remove the asbestos, and to demolish the interior, to replace the roof and its metal decking, to install the required roof drains. It currently has 4 roof drains, and per code it has to have 8. And replace the HVAC penthouse metal walls, or leave the HVAC mechanical equipment in the penthouse as it is right now. And the next steps is for the architect to commence the design and construction documents or specifications and drawings in order to obtain the necessary scope of work. And once that is concluded, request for proposal or submit an RFP for general contractors to be released in March, April of this year, contingent on funding. Any questions or comments in regards to?
Mr. Ariel, can
Yes.
you, and I think we had the discussion before, but what's the square footage of this, the Dillard building or office location?
The square, it's well, per floor is 50,000 square feet.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Big project.
Yes, sir.
We also have Mr. Science available. He is our project engineer. If you have any specific questions for him.
I have no questions.
Being no questions, Ms. Science, do you want to propose?
The recommended motion is if the board approves funding, motion to allocate budget for the iTech Dillard's roof renovation project in the amount of $2,417,000.
Miss, if I might interrupt,
Yes.
we're just doing the next steps, which is to go in for an RFP.
Okay, so
we're not requesting funding at this time.
okay.
So
So
then-
what is the next step?
It doesn't read as an RFP.
The next step is to have the architect commence with the design and construction documents and also request for an RFP for the general contractor that will be releasing within March and April. And that will be contingent on funding on the RFP. Once we know how much the funding amount is, we will bring it back to the board for approval.
It could be more than 2.4.
Well, we don't know, Mr. De Leon. That's why we need to go on an RFP.
Okay.
Okay, well, this concludes my report.
I understand that in order for this report, we need to have a motion. Could you put your screen back on, Dr. Figueroa,
Yes, I'm sorry.
or whoever had it? In order for us to continue with an RFP, we need to approve and an item to authorize an RFP on this. Am I correct, Dr. Figueroa? Or do we
Yes,
have no action on this?
I don't, Mr. The lawyers might want to chime in, but at this point, all we're requesting is your permission to go on an RFP. We're not requesting funding until we bring the RFP back.
That's not what the item reads.
That's not what it reads. But I'll tell you one thing. I will make a motion to authorize the request for proposal for general contractors to be released by March, April 2021, contingent on funding. How's that?
Can we, well,
Legal, where's legal?
can we ask legal about that? We can't just make motions with something that's not on the agenda.
Exactly. Frank?
You're amending your motion.
It's not in the agenda for approval.
Okay, this is what is in the agenda.
It's approving 2.4 million.
No, I'm going to have to ask to table this item.
I agree.
Yes.
That's
so
an
we can
appropriate.
clarify.
That's appropriate.
It's, I mean, the presentation you're showing us is something and the request is correctly stated on the presentation, but we go back to the agenda and it's right.
I second that motion, Mr.
Yes.
Herrera.
But we had a motion on the floor by Mr. Herrera.
I'm going to rescind my motion.
And I second the second motion.
All those in favor of Mr. Herrera rescinding his motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Now Mr. Herrera is going to make a motion to table this item.
I second.
I second.
There's a motion on the table and there is a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And the question here is what happened, Ms. Figueroa, or Dr. Figueroa, or Mr. Ariel? Why do we have two different things?
I know that after committee, we had made a change, sir. I apologize for that.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. When will we revisit this? At our next board meeting?
Well,
Or
And your committee meeting, probably.
we will put out the RFP. The RFP has to be out in the market for about 3 weeks minimum. before it comes back for evaluation. After the evaluation, it goes to committee and then to the board meeting. So it might not be until May board meeting that this item comes back, given the timeline now.
I'll answer this question, Dr. Figueroa. Do you have
Yes,
to come to the board before you go off for an RFP? That's what we tabled.
No,
It does not have to come to the board?
no. Because we're not asking for funding yet, and we're gonna make the RFP contingent on funding.
Perfect. Any other questions? Let's move on. Item 9, Policy Committee. Ms. Alejandro.
The Policies Committee met on Friday, February the 12th, 2021. Present were Chair Herrera, Ms. Aldrete, President Rodriguez, myself, and members of the TSC Administration, College Legal Counsel, and Board Legal Counsel. The committee discussed the following items. 9A, consideration and possible action on adoption of local policies BE, CAK, CF, DHC, EFB, and GK. I'll call on Mr. Ruben Herrera to present this item.
How about Mr. Peña?
I'm sorry, Mr. Peña.
I can do it too.
Let's have Mr. Peña do it.
Good afternoon. Am I on? There we go. Good afternoon, members of the board. You have before you the various local board policies that we're asking you to approve. The committee met on these and has recommended that they be approved. You'll see the changes that were made in red. There's some that are very minor and just basically are being updated. These are local policies, which are the ones that you, as the Board of Trustees, are required to adopt. And we're required to do this in order to keep our policies updated. And so both Frank and I have visited on this. Frank, you have anything else you want to add to it?
I do not.
I do. This was a very, no, I'm gonna wait for the comments.
So I recommend that we adopt local policies BE, CAK. I have a question before I do that, Mr. Herrera, because I have a comment on one of the policies. Do I wait or do I do it now?
Well, you can ask Mr. Peña.
You could, it'd be easier if you go ahead and make the motion and then the second and then the discussion as the normal process.
But it is her committee, Mr.
Because I don't want to recommend something that I have a question on.
It is your committee.
Right.
I thought we would do it one by one like you've done it in the past, right? Like you read the first one.
We're gonna read each and every one, at least name it, and the one that you have a question on, we'll go to it.
Thank you. I recommend that we adopt local policy BE.
Policy and bylaw development.
Yes.
There is a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I second.
There's a motion and a second. All those any discussion on this item? There are no discussions. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries.
I also make a motion to adopt policy CAK.
Appropriations and revenues resource.
There's a
investments.
motion to adopt policy CAK. Is there a second?
I second.
There's a second. Any discussion on this?
I have a question. Who else is in that committee?
Me.
Oh. Is there a reason why you're not seconding the motion, Ms. Aldrete?
No, there's no reason.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you weren't agreeing with what we were doing. or
Oh,
what-
no, I'm in agreement.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
No discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so here's where I have a question, on the, local policy CF, purchasing and acquisition. I know this was brought to the board last year, and, I'd like for the board to bring light to this again. And this is for the purchasing amount, that we allow the president to deal with, and it's limited at 25,000. I was wondering if we could raise that a little bit to give a little bit of leeway.
Did we is it on this policy that's next?
Yes, the CF.
Policy CF, purchasing and acquisition. It is on page 1 out of 3.
We're gonna.
Aren't we supposed to have a motion before we discuss it?
Well, that's what I asked prior to this. And
Yeah, but we haven't had.
And I was told that I could bring it to the table now, because Tony, what I have a problem is making a motion that I'm not completely in agreement with yet.
Yeah, well, I had to do that last month. I did that.
Okay, so.
I don't think there's a problem, but okay, that's fine.
No, I just want to do what's right. That's why I asked a while ago.
So here's my question.
Let's do something. Why don't we make a motion? Someone second it, we'll discuss it. And if we don't want the motion, you can withdraw your motion and we can do something else.
But would the motion include her recommendation of increasing the amount? Right?
That's
Not yet.
Not yet. So make the motion and we'll discuss it.
Why? Then she's like, that's why she doesn't want to make the motion.
Mr. Leon.
But if it went to committee and the committee discussed it and they were in agreement with raising if it went to committee then and they agreed, then they can bring it to the whole board.
No, we did not agree.
No, we did not agree on
We
that.
did not agree.
Okay, okay. So
That's
they
the
did-
problem. So Ms. Alejandra, you want to make the motion?
I make a motion that we adopt policy CF, purchasing and acquisition.
And I second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Now the discussion.
Is there a recommendation on the amount it should be raised to?
There's no recommendation.
No, I just wanted to bring it to. Well, I'm thinking at least 50.
My question is why?
Why? Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Well, we can put it to a vote and
No, I mean, I want to discuss it. That's why I'm bringing it to the board.
this is the same issue we had sometime maybe 3-4 months ago when the administration wanted to take $100,000.
It wasn't the administration.
It wasn't administration. I'm sorry, Mr. Herrera. I was on the policy committee last year also, and we brought it to the board asking for 100,000, and that was tabled. Okay, it was tabled last year, and so now I'm saying, I mean, why not? I mean, we did do a survey of all community colleges, and most colleges have at least 50,000.
I never saw.
I didn't see that report.
No, you didn't, because you weren't on the board yet.
Yeah.
Well,
Was this item tabled or did we vote on it? Because I remember voting.
No, we tabled it.
It was tabled?
We tabled it. It was never brought back.
So this is my question here. So if it went to the committee and you all wanted to raise it, you didn't discuss the raise?
We didn't
there?
discuss the raise.
Hold on. We never discussed a raise in the committee, or it wasn't discussed in the committee. The committee has $25,000, which is what we had, and which was what we were keeping. That is what what was discussed in committee. Now, that is what was discussed in committee. We didn't discuss 25, 30, 40, 50, any other amount than $25,000.
To be honest, I don't think we discussed each item in detail, did we? I think what the discussion at that particular time was that you asked that only 5 policies be brought to the board, but I don't think we discussed any particular policy.
I'd like to hear from Ms. Aldrete.
When we were in the meeting, we focused a lot on one BBE. I think it was BBE, which was not brought in because we didn't come into consensus. Then we had a discussion of the following that were listed in order in our binder. And when this came up, it stayed at 25,000. There was no discussion as to let's bring it up at 30, 40, 50, 100. So I didn't know that this was previously tabled. So I went with it. I thought it was just common practice to be at 25,000.
So is there other policies,
so
Ms. Alejandro and that are coming back to the board?
Mr. De Leon, Ms. Alejandro, please address me. Everyone address me, and I will give you the floor, please.
Mr. Herrera, may I speak?
Yes.
In this case, Ms. Alejandro should have brought it up in the committee requesting for it to be up to 50,000 because there had been some studies made previously, and we would have made the change right then and there at the committee. For me, it's a surprise.
So, Mr. Herrera, so my question is, are you all bringing up more policies to the board since you said you discussed several and some of them are not here because you're bringing them back, correct?
We're going to bring them
Well,
back.
then why don't we table it and then have a discussion, like Ms. Alejandro says, to raise it to 50,000? Since it wasn't even discussed.
Yeah, let me tell you, Mr. Herrera, may I have the floor?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me tell you what happened, okay? There was like, I don't know, 25, 30 policies brought to the committee. So we discussed, the discussion was that it was too many. Okay. So we asked Dr. Rodriguez to only bring 5 at a time so that we could deal with them. Okay. But we didn't discuss the first 5, but we didn't discuss any policies. That's what Ms. Aldrete probably doesn't remember because we didn't discuss them.
We discussed policy BBE. I have it in my mind.
Ms. Aldrete, please.
I'm sorry.
Address me.
Mr. Herrera, may I speak?
Yes, ma'am.
If you recall, Mr. Herrera, you were at that meeting. We discussed policy BBE. I have it in my binder at home.
And what about
with
FC?
on my notes? This policy, the one in discussion right now, was briefly reviewed, but there was no comments brought up as to make it higher or bring it up higher.
Mr. Herrera, may I speak?
Yes, ma'am.
This is not policy BBE. This is policy CF.
We know.
Yes.
I Ms. Alejandro, I was in that meeting, and I was part of the previous discussion on the $100,000 and how doing that would take the board's fiduciary duty in supervising the expenditures and the of the college. And that was the big issue back then, and that is the big issue right now. I am not for increasing the 25, but I am one vote, only one vote. But we go back and we have been down this road, and we did discuss this thing. We discussed it, and it was $25,000. Had you told me it was 50 or 75 or 100, I would have jumped up and down because I was the person who back 4 or 5 months ago jumped up and down and said, why are you taking my fiduciary duties? That was my discussion back then.
Okay, may I speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I beg to differ, but if we would have brought this up, I would have been the one that would have been jumping up and down because I would have brought it up to 50,000. But again, this was not discussed in committee. You asked the president to bring five policies only. Okay.
These are part of the 5.
Right, but we didn't discuss them in committee.
Okay. Do you want to table? Do you want to rescind your motion, table it,
Yes.
and bring it back to committee?
Yes, please.
Will you make a
I would
motion?
like to rescind my motion on the
second that.
approval of policy CF.
And I second that.
Okay, there is a motion to rescind the motion, and there is a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 So this one is
This does not, this is tabled.
tabled.
Next item.
I make a motion that we adopt policy DHC. This is on personnel, employee standards of conduct, child abuse, and neglect reporting.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion to adopt local policy EFB. This deals with instruction, curriculum design, the degrees and certificates.
Seconded.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a problem here because were these policies that we're passing, were they discussed?
I remember discussing them.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
I think, may I speak, Mr. Herrera?
Yes, ma'am.
I think what happened, Ms. Garza, is that because there wasn't much to deal with on some policies, we kind of skimmed over them. But like there was quite a bit on the child abuse and neglect because it was kind of new. And we had to deal with a lot of new changes and a lot of additional changes. And that's what that was discussed at length. And that's why we remember that one.
I just want to feel comfortable.
Sure.
If it was discussed and you make the motion, I'm okay.
Correct. What happened on some is just the one word was left out or one word was added, and so it wasn't that much to discuss.
It was minor changes.
Yeah. Did we have a vote on that?
I have a second. I seconded.
There's a motion. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Oh, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion to adopt local policy GK, Relations and Educational Accreditation Agencies.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Now this is for staff. Did we do section E? Did we cover section E?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
This concludes my report. There's another item, item 10. That concludes my report for item number 9.
Okay. Item number 10, consideration. Well, this is for Ms. Alejandro.
Right. This is the naming form being presented for today's meeting, followed proper policy procedures. At this point, I would like to ask Mr. Peña to read the proposed resolution.
Yes, ma'am. State of Texas, County of Cameron, Texas Southmost College District, resolution of the Board of Trustees of Texas Southmost College regarding the renaming of the Robert E. Lee Youth Center to the Texas Southmost College Youth Center. Whereas the Texas Southmost College Board of Trustees has adopted a policy regarding the naming and renaming of its facilities and entities to best promote the identity, purpose, and mission of the institution and its community. And whereas the Fort Brown Memorial Complex was built in 1954, was owned by the city of Brownsville until ownership was transferred to the Texas Southmost College and the University of Texas at Brownsville partnership in 1997, was later transferred to and became the sole property of TSC. And throughout the changes in ownership, the original names of the facilities were retained. And whereas one of the facilities located within the Fort Brown Memorial Complex is named the Robert E. Lee Youth Center, and whereas the Texas Southmost College Board of Trustees recognizes that TSC does not have any known established relationship with Robert E. Lee, therefore the current designation is not consistent with the policy of Texas Southmost College, and whereas there is no anticipated conflicts with changing the current designation and no prior naming commitments exist by or on behalf of Texas Southmost College, and whereas the Board of Trustees of Texas Southmost College finds that renaming the Robert E. Lee Youth Center to the Texas Southmost College Youth Center is desirable and consistent with TSC's policy, mission, purpose, and identity, it is therefore resolved that the Board of Trustees of Texas Southmost College hereby renames the Robert E. Lee Youth Center located within the Fort Brown Memorial Complex at 600 International Boulevard, Brownsville, Texas 78520 to Texas Southmost College Youth Center. Certificate for resolution. Hereby certified that the foregoing resolution was presented to the Board of Trustees of Texas Southmost College during a special call meeting February, today's the 25th, 2021. A quorum of the Board of Trustees being then present, it was then duly moved and seconded that the resolution be adopted, and such resolution was then adopted according to the following vote. Mr. Herrera?
I make a motion that we accept the resolution.
I second.
There is a motion by Ms. Garza, second by Ms. Alderete. Any discussion?
Ms. Sines.
Miss Sines,
Ms. Sines.
because I was muted.
Does the motion need to be read like that? It says in the package? Just asking. Mr. Herrera, does it have to, the motion need to be read the way it's put on the agenda?
Should be.
Legal.
I didn't understand the question. Does the
motion need to be read like this?
It would be desirable. I do have one comment, Mr. Chair. At the very end of the certificate for resolution, it says that it was presented to the Board of Trustees during a special called meeting. Actually, this would be a regular called meeting.
Mr. Peña?
Yes, sir. Oh, that can be easily changed if it's a regular call meeting.
Correct.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Alejandra, you want to read the motion the way it's in the agenda?
No, let me be the chair.
Mrs. Garza already, Ms. Garza can review it.
Would you, Ms. Garza, read the proposed motion as presented?
I move that we take action on naming or renaming of buildings, facilities, and spaces included. So I make a motion that we accept the resolution. Is that what, I don't have the motion with me. You do,
Okay.
Mr.
Okay, so let me read the motion. The motion to adopt the resolution is presented, renaming the Robert E. Lee Youth Center located within the Fort Brown Memorial Complex at 600 International Boulevard, Brownsville, Texas, 78520 to the Texas Southmost College Youth Center. Is that the motion you wanted to make, Ms. Garza?
That's fine, thank you.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second? There's a motion. Ms. Sines second the motion. Any discussion? Being no discussion.
I want to say thanks to whoever put this resolution together. I think it's very well done. I think we had no use for going out and naming 1,000 names under TSC,
yes,
to say the least, and have us all discuss it. So I think Peña and
it was a collaborative effort. Let's put it that way. Oh, yeah, definitely.
It was very well done. It reflects TSC. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
and,
you so
and
very
Dr. Rodriguez, I think, had a lot to do with bringing all the parties and involving all the parties that needed to be involved. So thank you. I agree. I concur.
So there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Next item is executive session. We will now go into being 7:15, we'll go into executive session. We're back from executive session. Is there any motions, items, discussions from executive session?
Yes, Mr. Herrera, I want to make a motion. I move that the board adopts the salary schedule as presented in executive session.
I have a motion and a second from
I second that.
Ms. Aldrete. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Now, item 13, announcement of proposed meeting dates. The proposed meeting dates are for the regular board meeting, Thursday, March 25th, 2021 at 5:30, and Thursday, April 22nd, 2021 at 5:30. These are tentative dates, but we need to announce them. I believe Dr. Rodriguez is going to be out. So if there are any changes, Dr. Rodriguez will let us know.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do I have a motion for an adjournment?
I so move.
There is a motion and a second.
I second.
Okay. Any discussion on adjournment?
None.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Have a good one, and we'll continue Zooming.